the Ruto regime ensured that the wishes of the people were ignored. Instead, they retained punitive taxes on fuel, on housing, on turnover, on salaries, among others. This is like showing the people of Kenya the contempt card. An institution called Parliament gets its mandate from the people, but the people retain the residual power. The executive, the judiciary, everybody, every state officer gets mandate from the people. The people will meet at Kamukunji grounds and they will roar back at Parliament and at the executive.
And beginning next week, Tuesday, the day after tomorrow, we are starting a new conversation with the people. And that conversation is going to start at Kamukunji grounds on Tuesday. So all Kenyans from all walks of life are invited to Kamukunji. All their cries about the punitive finance bill were ignored. It's now their turn to make a statement. And whatever the people decide that we do, we are going to do. Whatever they tell us on Tuesday to do going forward, we are going to do.
All right, that is Honorable Martha Karua and Leto Piwandai talking about what just happened in Parliament last week, but the President and his deputy have actually responded to some of those sentiments. Watch.
Wale watu wa upinzani, mimi na waheshimu wafanye kazi ya upinzani, lakini wafanye kazi ya upinzani wakijua Kenya ni yetu sote. Tupange vizuri, tukosoe kwa mpango, sio kwa kuharibu.
Una shida, si barabara ziko tu, kuna bahali zimeenda. Kuna bahali zimeenda, bora tu wasiharibu mali ya Mkenya. Hiyo tu. Hiyo no go zone. Weka sufuria kwa kichwa, piga kelele, muende nyumbani jioni. Lakini mali ya Mkenya, hapana, hiyo haiwezekani.
Okay, that is the President and the Deputy President. I want to begin with Fred because I think I saw you at the press conference that was addressed by Honorable Martha Karua.
Yes, I was there.
Excuse me. And, I mean, we saw the participation of parliamentarians, some of them from the Azimio side. In the voting, I think the highest Azimio got was about 88 votes. So, what do you expect to achieve from Kamukunji?
I have listened to our good friend, Honorable Ruto, and his deputy Rigathi. They have said they respect the Azimio. We also respect them, and that is very good. However, we know the reason why this bill that was passed has been controversial. But I'll not take a lot of time going into the controversies around it. But there are two things. One they are talking about, the other one they are not talking about. Well, they passed it. The 16% VAT is going to increase on petroleum products. It's going to increase the operation cost. It will increase the energy cost. It will raise the transport cost. It will raise the manufacturing cost. Basically, what that means is that it is going to increase the high cost of living further, in our view as Azimio. And we have said before that this bill ought to have been done in a manner that everyone agrees with it and we pass it for the benefit of majority. Who are the people?
Is that possible? Is that a possibility?
It might not be possible, but that attempt to demonstrate that the views of the public are important is possible. The media reported that when this bill went through public participation, majority of the issues that were raised by the public were never factored in the final decision making. You hosted the Chair Finance Committee in this very studio, and you heard what he said. But now, that is water under the bridge because they have passed it. They said they will pass it. We like it, we don't like it. For sure, they have passed it. Number two, there's the issue of housing levy that has now become a tax. And we said that this housing levy that you are introducing is a tax. They went and did the amendments. And now what is coming out is that the housing tax will increase the wage bill by 1.5%. While at the same time, it will lower the takeaway of the employee by 1.5%. Basically, your disposable income, for those who are salaried, it will go down. What that means, again, it is going to affect the common man. We have said that, Azimio, we had hoped that the Ruto regime would listen to the majority and consult, and that bill would have been a discussion where we say, in terms of even this proposal, how do we make it even better for the people of Kenya without making their lives miserable, particularly on those taxations that we are seeing. But they say, no, 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 this is their inaugural budget. We cannot give them policies. It is their policy. Fair enough. They have had their way. What we are doing tomorrow, the people want to know, where do we move from here? So it is a consultative meeting with the people of Kenya at Kamkunji, where the leadership of Azimio will be present. And Honorable Pio Andai has just said it. Whatever the people will tell the Azimio leadership in Kamkunji tomorrow, because of course the people would want the cost of life go down. The people would want their children to go back to school. The people of Kenya would want corruption to go down. The people of Kenya would want to see a united country. That is what we are going to do. And we are expecting...
You sound as if you already know what Kenyans want.
Because we have been consulting the people.
So what are you doing tomorrow?
What we are going tomorrow, we are going to give them the way forward. But the people,
consulting with
the people after the passage of this bill, some, they have got further questions. How did we get to where we are?
What is the format of the meeting tomorrow?
I've not seen the program, but I know for sure, like any other consultative meeting, the people would be asking questions and the leadership will be responding. And in responding, you also give your people guidelines and next course of action. I can tell you, the next course of action will be such that we look at how do we address these several demands from the people. That now, the Kenya Kwanza regime has decided that instead of lowering the cost of living, in our view, they are increasing it through this taxation in the finance bill.
Okay.
That is what we are going to do. And lastly, Sam, we also know that the Kenya Kwanza leadership are saying they encourage people to demonstrate, but for as long as you don't destroy anything. We have not called for any demonstration, Sam. We have just said what we are going to do in Kamkunji is a rally, public baraza. So they should not fear, because we have not called for any demonstration. And in any case, if we call for demonstration, it must be within the confines of the law. Article 37, that is well guided. Without armed, you are peaceful and free to demonstrate. So I don't see why they should ridicule and disparage Azimio that carrying sufurias, I don't know what Rigiji is saying. But for us, we strongly believe that...
Can you just call him the Deputy President?
Honorable Rigathi, what he's saying is not very, very useful to the people of Kenya today at a time, Sam, when we are seeing majority... The Federation of Kenya Employers, Sam, they have said that...
Fred, I hear you and I'll come back to you.
Okay.
But you've confused me because you're telling me that tomorrow you have a consultation meeting to consult with the people. You're also calling it a rally, baraza. You're also saying that you're going to tell the people what the next course of action will be. I mean, there's a lot of things in one. Honorable Beatrice Elachi, this is your coalition. And I don't know whether you were at Parliament when the voting on this bill was, but what avenues exist for your coalition at this point in time that, I mean, finance bill will be enacted very soon as the president signs it. The budget will start being implemented this Saturday, the 1st of July. So what options exist?
Well, and first of all, I think the most important thing is to appreciate that the bill had 86 to 87 clauses. And I think the contentious clauses that we went through a division of vote were like 5. Right. And so it means all of us in Parliament, the rest of the bill, we agree on it. And so now let us come to the contentious, which is mostly the housing and the housing and the fuel levy. And I think we went even into a division on the same. But then we have to agree that, one, all of us, and even Kenyans, felt the most painful one is the housing and fuel. So the rest of the bill, they are okay with it. 80%, 90%, they're okay. And in this too, for me, I mean, if it was my wish, which I know I tried, I know we spoke even with the finance team, with the chair, for a few days, that can we change the housing one to be a levy, yes, a tax, but it goes to import goods. Then you remove it from Kenyans. We put it for those who are importing things, they pay that housing levy. And by the way, nobody is in contentious with it. To have houses, yes, everyone agrees. It is the mechanisms that everyone felt has not been prepared well. And for me in Nairobi, having been a speaker, having seen this process start, I will tell you, Sam, if you don't put it correctly, people are going to misuse this money. And we will end up again one day coming here. I know right now, because we are very strong in our political divides, we are not seeing that. But let me tell you, as we have done our work as members of parliament, now we've taken it to the team that is supposed to implement. That team has always failed Kenya. Always. And it's because when you give a team resources that were never planned for, and all of a sudden those resources are coming in, then people wonder what to do with it, and they start mismanaging it and all that. And I said, even in my debate, even I repeated, in fact, I think I said very well, we support the idea. The problem we have is the mechanism. Why? I said everyone should walk to Pangani. In houses that are being done by China, they were given the contract. I am telling you, Sam, you enter that house, you feel very disappointed. You feel, first of all, disregard of dignity of people. You find a room where it is told it's a one-bedroom. Sam, you'll find here a door. You remember those doors of Kitambo when we were young people? You used to go in a shop and you have a door where the shop has two doors, but one opens and the other one is closed, like this. Now they tell you that is where they will be seeing light. And you're like, are you for real? And I need people to go there before we start talking about this affordable, because it's in Nairobi. It's like Nairobi is where everything has to be done. First of all, this thing of everything we do in Nairobi is not fair for Nairobi. Nairobi is a county. It was voted by people. They want to see transformation in their county. They voted 100% or 80 or 50 or 60% for Azimio. And therefore, sometimes there is need to respect that Nairobi. These houses you're telling us will come to Nairobi. Can we have a conversation? Not as the way I see every politician talking, as if Nairobi is just a place where you walk in and walk out. No. This is a place where we must sit and speak and have a conversation of this housing issue. Yes, everyone has a house in Nairobi, I agree. But do you know, Sam, when they go to vote, everyone goes to their counties. So we have young people who wake up to vote for you to make Nairobi better, and that the county Nairobi to be called a county Nairobi. But do they benefit? I want to say today that we have young people who have been taken to be trained to become tax collectors. I doubt whether our constituencies were picked in. And so we are saying as Nairobi, we are waiting.
So who was?
Well, the other places they were. You will see them very soon. But the most unfortunate thing, this Nairobi, many of them were not taken. But you'll find people coming to collect on us taxes, yet we are the ones who give this country 57% plus GDP. I think it's time also to just respect that county. It's time to work the way you work with other counties. It's time we work with this. If it is now questioning the issue of finance bill, I would say every county has a challenge on this. So they have to go, everyone has to go for a conversation in their counties as we do ours, so that we also sustain ours and our people can still do other things. And other counties must also now stand up. If they feel they don't want housing, they should be doing dialogues in their counties also, So as politicians of Nairobi also, we keep on saying, everyone just pushes us.
Okay.
But we want to have a conversation as Nairobi. We want to see Nairobi move. I've been telling the County Assembly of Nairobi, kindly give us a levy on now cleanliness. That if you know 10 meters around you, there's garbage, then you can be fined also. So that we clean Nairobi.
But getting back to the issue that Azimio wants to pursue, which is your party, I mean, what options exist at Kamukunji grounds?
Well, you see now, I will wait for the leaders to guide us because, in my opinion, first of all, you have a sitting. We just passed the bill last week. Can we have a sitting and thrash out what we feel is very contentious and have now a proposal to say, this is what we feel was best for Kenyans, so that even if you are going to court, yes, you walk into court, but then the courts, you'll have to give them also a solution. Because when we walk into court and say, this bill, we shall be thrown away with one thing. This bill was voted for only these contentious issues. So you can't say the whole finance bill again is an issue. And I kept on asking, because I'm a backbencher, I kept on asking, if we are saying no, we have to say no to everything. But no, we agreed we are saying no on the contentious ones. The rest we sat, and in the Hansard, I think we are the ones who also contributed more in the good things. In fact, the Kenya Kwanza, I want to tell the president, these ones are just voting machines, sorry to say. Yes, they didn't speak. The only people who spoke on their bill was my chair of budget, my chair of finance, the majority leader, a few of those. In our side, we had Badi, we had Nikal, we had so many, even me, we contributed on it. And saying, this one we agree. Even on watch, agree. Many of us agree. And we were the ones who were debating. So that is why I'm saying, sometimes when you see Parliament is an arm of government. So you cannot vilify anyone. Yeah. We have a right to do everything together. And I always say, Parliament works with committees. In the committee, if the Finance Committee has agreed on all these things, but felt the levy of... So Azimio has to pick what is very critical. And I need to tell my principals, you must pick on the levy of fuel, you must speak on housing. Those are the very critical ones. The issue of band and whatever might be there or not there because you don't have an idea now how do you deal with it. Because even who are these in that band? You see, yeah, and that's why sometimes when Treasury wants to trick you, they will never give you data to show when we are saying this band, it's in which level. So for me, the two critical, which I can even walk in court, was the fuel levy and the housing. And knowing very well the beneficiaries are mostly, all houses might be built first in Nairobi. That's why I'm I'm pained with it because of the how. How do we deal with it and how do you build a house that was, when you go to Maringo Estate, look at that house. Is it possible to give a Kenyan such a house? Or you are going to give them now a small thing? And next time when I come here, I'll bring you the specs of what government has put in, even in Ziwani, and you'll realize those houses are very small. Okay. Yeah.
I'm just looking at, there's something you said that Nairobi contributes up to 57% of the GDP. I don't think that is...
Maybe 40, 45.
No, it's not. Nairobi actually, based on statistics from KNBS, contributed 27% of the GDP. No. I'm quoting a government
that is not right.
That is called the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics.
No, because everything is done here, Sam. And then Mombasa.
But also according to
those two counties, Mombasa and Nairobi.
Just hold on. But also according to Honorable Elachi, Nairobi contributes 57.
Yes, yes.
We figure out.
Yes, because everyone lives here. No, if it is fuel levy, it starts here.
Some is everything. That's an old statistic that has been challenged. So I agree with you. Yeah. In fact, some people had talked about even 60%. Yeah. It's really not true. It's way lower. I would actually agree with the 27% going maybe to about 35%.
No, it's okay, Honorable Elachi. I mean, I have noted your objection. Honorable Wandeto, so look, all this contestation and a bit of Kenyans feel disappointed in Parliament that they made their voices heard, whether it's by presenting themselves before the Finance Committee, whether it's expressing themselves in public fora, through the media. But then again, some of those concerns were ignored. So one wonders, yes, like we saw, the Kenya Kwanza team was very consistent on how they voted in terms of the numbers and the proportions. But then again, was it necessary to engage, if at all, in the end, it was going to be the word of the president, the executive, to really pass through the House?
Sam, I don't think, first of all, it is true to say that what carried the day is the word of the president. But let me go back, first of all, to thank you for the consistent challenge you have given to my two colleagues here as to what they hope to achieve on Monday. Tuesday, rather. And as you can see, there is really no plan. The Azimio Brigade, they had their opportunity to come and prosecute the issues around the finance bill in Parliament, which they did. I agree with Elachi. We gave them quite some bit of airtime, to vent.
We forced it. We forced it through a vote also.
To vent. At very many times they caused very unnecessary divisions.
Yes.
Even when they knew they were clearly outnumbered, which is a very, very good thing, because actually that's democracy. And as they say in Parliament, we say the minority had their say, and the majority had their way. What is sad, Sam, is tomorrow, I think they plan, it is actually the first Maandamano. I know Fred and Beatrice may not want to be using those words, but this is a return of Maandamano, and which will be very, very sad, because they've lost the opportunity to engage in Parliament, and now they are finding that the only place.
What do you mean they have failed to engage in Parliament? I thought you just said they did.
They did, but once the decision has been made, maybe I should take back my word. They engaged, but the majority had their way, and I think that debate now should be closed. In my opinion, the finance bill now is behind us. I think what we should now be focusing on, Sam, is how do we then move the nation forward? We have all these new agendas that we have now voted and said we want to pursue. Housing, things around education, things around health. I think those will be the conversations that we should be engaging on. And as Kenya Kwanza, we are open to listening to, to the contribution of these people in terms of how we can best move these agendas forward. The issues that Elachi is raising here as to what should be the size of the house, how should the house look like, those are all very, very positive issues, and everyone is more than happy to engage. But going back to the streets, and we know what happened, even when we are told the Maandamanos will be peaceful, we know it's, it's just a matter of time before we start seeing stone throwing, businesses closed, disruptions begin. And again, I'm also wondering whether Azimio has actually walked away from the bipartisan talks, because, we knew that that's a forum we had all agreed that would all channel our grievances and go and have some boardroom discussions around there. So what we are seeing is a very dangerous metamorphosis of Azimio. You remember they started with servers, they moved to issues around the elections. Now it's moved to the economy, prices of unga, now it's finance bill. So I don't know whether tomorrow they will be announcing another new set of issues. And it's starting to look like
an... fair to the opposition, yes, historically you're right. Yeah. But currently they're specific on an issue that they were hoping that would go differently. And the leaders you see there, some of them don't sit in Parliament. Isn't it also a time for them to express themselves?
Some, don't be surprised tomorrow, a whole new set of issues are put on the table. I will not be surprised. Who saw the finance bill coming? That is not how the Maandamanos started. Now it has become the central issue. So tomorrow, I'll not be surprised. And what we are seeing is a very, very dangerous metamorphosis, like I've said. But however, moving forward, I think for me, the more important thing is to say, how then, with these new resources that government has gotten, how do we ensure that we can be able to move the country forward? First of all, Sam, we have to ask ourselves, why was it necessary maybe to raise some taxes? It's because the government obviously wants to generate more revenue. The government wants to become less and less dependent on external borrowing. The government wants to be able to finance some of the programs that it has promised Kenyans, and that is and one of them was basically access to affordable housing, which is some, as you know, something even in our constitution, that every Kenyan has a right to some decent housing. And I know Elashi is criticizing the Pangani houses, but maybe she is also not giving us a true story of how Kenyans live today. Because if you took a lot of Kenyans to that Pangani house and you tell them, between this and what you are having today, where would you rather live? I think a lot of Kenyans would vote for.
But I thought she raised a pertinent issue. I mean, even if you're taking someone to a better place, it has to be dignified.
Yeah, and I do not know. I have not seen the Pangani houses. Maybe I also need to see. I also need to see. I also need to see
for the mechanism.
Because I believe there was a huge, a team of government experts that were basically involved in the design, in the implementation of these houses. Then, if that is happening, then they would be failing us. And some my point was, when it comes to this housing agenda. One of the places that we have to put, to quote the words of Lee Kuan Yew, the best and the ablest is on this agenda. I think we have to ensure that we cannot afford to get the housing agenda wrong. Okay. Obviously, there has been a lot of criticism.
I'm sure you know that there are several questions that have been raised in the country, but also in this studio about that housing levy, especially in the implementation matrix. But I don't want us to go there because we've really discussed that issue over the past several weeks. But Honorable Kithure, when you reflect on these jitters, these complaints about what transpired at Parliament, are you satisfied yourself, but also with those who have views like the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition, what do you think would be the opportunity now?
I would want, first of all, to start by saying this was the first finance bill, I'm sure, since the beginning of this country, that has had the greatest conversation. When you look at those submissions that were given to the Finance Committee, were over 1,000. So which means many Kenyans raised their voices onto this. And when it came to Parliament, we had a great discussion about the same. And parliamentarians are representatives of the people. So the first representation was institutions and persons, individuals made presentations to the committee, and which I heard you say most of the Kenyans were not heard, which I beg to disagree with you, because there are many things that were adjusted from the proposal the government had been able to give. Like, for instance, the digital content, percentages that had been proposed before at 15%, it was reduced to 5%. Look at the issues that concerned Kenyans, the issue of markups and wigs. There was some taxation that had been put there, but it was removed. Look at even this thing about the housing levy.
You haven't heard anyone complaining about digital tax.
Well, no, there were concerns that were raised up and around the same. Look at even the housing as well. The initial proposal was that it was 2,500 as the max, with a percentage of 3%. And now those ones have all, after all consultations and conversation, it all came down to 1.5%. And when you're talking about...
Why are you missing out on the totality of what you just said? You said there was a cap of 2.5. 2.5,
yes.
And it was a 3%.
Yes.
So reduced to 1.5%. What happened to the cap?
No, I mean, the fact that, first of all, the 2,500 was supposed to have been the contribution by the max contribution by the employer and the employee. So after the consultation, it would have been fair for those who are earning a lot, that it would have been unfair for those who are earning less, that if 2,500 is a cap, that it means those who are earning less would have been paying much.
So there were views that the cap be lifted?
Yes, there were views that the cap be lifted. From the public.
Which public?
I mean, during the public participation.
That's what I'm asking. Who exactly said that they want it lifted so they pay more?
I said there were over 1,000 persons who gave contribution. I mean, they gave their contribution to the committee.
And you saw someone saying that they want to pay more beyond 2,500?
No. They said it will be better have it at 1.5%, which would be fair for everybody. Because if you're earning a lot, you pay a lot. Like for me as a member of parliament, I'll now be paying quite a lot. I feel the pain of paying the 1.5%, but as long as for the greater good of the country. What I'm trying to prosecute here, Sam, is you say there are things that were raised by Kenyans, but they were not heard. I wanted to tell you, the initial proposal by the government and that was in finance bill changed.
I mean, I didn't want to get into this, but did you hear Kenyans also saying they don't want that housing levy?
Yes, of course, yes. Kenyans say that.
What happened to that?
The thing is, Sam, there is a need to have housing program in this country. Let's go back a bit. Even in 2018, even if Azimio la Umoja would have been in government, that is one of the proposals when the leader of...
That doesn't answer my question.
So it means...
I am asking you,
yes,
Honorable Kittur, that you're saying that views were heard.
Yes, views were
taken
heard.
into consideration.
Correct.
But I'm also asking, did you hear Kenyans saying they don't want the housing levy?
Some Kenyans didn't want. Some Kenyans do want.
The housing levy?
Yes. They want the housing to be built. So how do you build the houses?
I'm asking about the housing levy.
You have to get somewhere where you'll get the funds from.
Okay. In short, what I'm trying to ask you is how that... Because the Azimio leaders... So, just hold on. Martha Karua is saying
yes,
that Kenyans were ignored. Let me just get the quote of what she's saying. Yeah, here it is. The regime ensured that the wishes of the people were ignored. Instead, they retained punitive taxes on fuel, housing, turnover, salaries, among others. This is like showing the people of Kenya the contempt card. That's what she's saying.
Let's go back a bit, Sam. We had a choice. When you're done the budget, this budget had to be financed. So we had a choice. Either we can decide to take the loan or, to borrow so that we could to bridge that gap that was remaining for us to be able to fund the budget. Or the other option is expand the tax base and look at other areas that you can be able to get funds to fund the budget. The four items that, the four areas that the Martha Karua has mentioned, when you look at even, for instance, start even with the turnover tax of the 3%, that was already there even before. All right, it's just that we are reverting back to what was there. Look at even that fuel levy. Yes, I agree with my friend here that it's true. It's going to somewhat probably create a bit of inflation, make life a bit hard. But when you look at also on the other side of it, one is we were there in before the COVID. We were at 16%, okay? And when you look at regionally, I keep saying, when you look at Uganda, Burundi, the rest, they are doing 18%. We are doing at 16%. Right. So this conversation of we have to get money from somewhere. So when we reverted back to doing the 16%, of course, you've not even mentioned the issue that KRA were facing of input and output VAT credits, where people, the dealers were able to claim inputs that government was not able to get in that variation of the 8% because it was a subsidy of sort. It had to be subsidized.
I need to understand that. How is that working?
What is happening is people claim VAT input on the expenditures of what they on what they spend as an expenditure. So you claim an input onto it. So in this particular case, since the government was bridging that gap, so they were not able to claim that VAT.
The VAT on fuel was 8%, still is 8%.
Yes.
So how would you claim more than that?
Because they pay the input, I think, at 16%.
Yes,
no, wait.
16%. The standard input, the standard VAT is 16%. Okay? So you have expenditures that you incur as an organization, when, like particularly the petroleum dealers. And then their claim is at 8%, yet the standard rate on their other items is at 16%. So you have an 8% you have to claim.
You do not claim a percentage, you claim as a specific figure, isn't it?
Yes.
What is, if, assuming that you're talking about a litre of petrol at 200 shillings.
Yes.
8% is what? 16 shillings, isn't it?
16 shillings.
16% of 100 is how much?
16 shillings.
So will you claim 16% of 100, or are you going to claim 16?
When you are doing your accounting, there are various things that that contribute in your transportation or the expenditures, the depreciation, all those things that you work in an organization. The others they are all aggregated together. They were not being separated. So that is why the 8% aspect was to standardize the issue of VAT.
So you're talking about, assuming you transport what?
Assuming you transport the fuel, so you have the expenditure on your vehicles that you use. You buy spares, you pay the vertible items that are within your organization at 16%, right? And then here comes your claim is at 8% on the overall sales that you make. You understand? So the 8% had to be standardized. When you do at 16% now, you are there's nobody who claims the credit on the difference of the 8%.
So what happens when you have items that are zero rated?
Is the same thing?
The zero rating, when you are zero rated now, that is...
Do you claim zero?
No, it moves back now. You can claim the other items. You do not have to claim the zero. That's why the exempt goes to the cost will go directly
I'm not talking about exempt. I'm talking about zero rating. So when you're claiming, do you claim zero or you claim the amount that you have incurred?
At zero, you will not claim on this particular item that you are buying. If it's zero rated, then you don't have any claim to that. Okay? But at 8% that we are talking about, between the 8 and the 16%, because you have other expenditures within your organization, you lump them together, that is what you create as a credit when you're claiming the VAT. Okay? So the 8% has always remained not being paid.
So if you're offering transport services and you charge 16% for the service, yes? What will you charge? Like say you transport cargo.
Yes.
From Kisumu to Mombasa, for instance. So you charge your client 16%.
Yes.
So that is output, VAT?
That is output, VAT, yes.
And then your input is 8% on fuel.
Correct.
So what will you claim?
Now, the 8%, that's what I'm saying. The government has not been able to recover this 8% that has always been somewhat, quote-unquote, a form of a subsidy in it because that's been claimed. That money has always not been claimed.
What are you claiming? You didn't incur it. What are you claiming?
You see, at 16% VAT for the items that standardize all the other expenditures that you have, I don't think we are going to get into. I think we need to have a whole set of a discussion about this.
No, you just need to answer the question.
What I wanted anyway, put that aside. Let's go to the points because I know you're spending a lot of time on this matter that we may not be able to get into.
I'm just looking for clarity because it was explained by the chairperson of the Finance Committee here on the floor of the House, and it still doesn't, it's not clear. I don't know if any of the panelists here has a response of what that exactly means. Do you?
No, I think my understanding is, Sam, if you are selling a good at a percentage lower than 16% and your input tax on that same good was 16%, okay? So let's say like for fuel, output tax was 8%, input tax is 16%. So you will always find yourself in a credit position which you need to claim from the taxman. That is my understanding. Okay? Nothing wrong with that. Okay? And that is not the reason, basically, why the adjustment is being made, because that accounting-wise, that is possible. Refunds can be made. But I think here what just basically we've done is to now standardize it to 16%. But
does that then mean that that explanation is faulty?
What explanation? As to why we raise the...
Yes.
No, I think the big reason why the VAT on petroleum products was increased from 8 to 16% is not because of just an accounting issue. I think the big thing is that the government needs the extra revenues.
So why not just say that? I mean, I know that VAT is going to fetch about, because of the amendment, is going to fetch some 51.
That's the reality. I don't think we should beat around the bush.
All right.
Because the tax measures are basically to improve government finances, and that's what we want to achieve.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Part of the discussion. Anyway, it may not be a key point, but yes, it is still a point in one way or the other. So it depends on how you look at it from. But I wanted to say that the issue of Kenya Kwanza now, of Azimio saying they want to have a consultation, I think we had a great consultation in Parliament. They still have other options. They've said they want to go to court. But the aspect of them saying they want to have a public baraza or some sort of consultation, it is all known to everybody that consultation is purely, they have a right, of course, under Constitution Article 37 on the assembly, the right to peaceful and armed assembly, to demonstrate, to picket, and to present petitions. But history has always shown in the recent past that would end up in a form of violence. So our request is, please, if you are looking at those 4 items, let's still find a way that we can be able to confer, but let's not get away where public property will be destroyed in the same respect. And then many times we've always been saying, give us your views, because I'm sure this government of Kenya Kwanza has really been, we've been listening to all of you guys.
What do you mean, give us your views? Who? Give who?
No, I mean, there's me a bit to give the floor that you can be able to listen to. So,
you know, that's very interesting. I mean,
because where else?
You sit in Parliament with the Honorable Elachi. I'm just wondering.
And we had a great discussion with them.
Give their views.
You know, Sam.
Which are you?
You're members of Parliament.
Honorable Couture, I've listened to him and my good friend Wandeto here. They have struggled to explain this issue of 16%, the justification. But finally, they've agreed that, you know, it's one way of raising this revenue. But Honorable Couture just said in his earlier submissions that, you know, they represent the people. But when you represent the people, the Constitution also requires of you that you address and resolve the issues of concern. The issues of concern to the people, Honorable Couture, has been that the cost of life is high. The high cost of living is unbearable. They want it addressed. You sit in Parliament where you make laws, you legislate. The public have said, and some asked you, which member of public or which group did say that they want houses? You are not able to answer that. Of course, there were a few who said, you know, we want houses. But majority of the people said, you know, we don't want this housing levy thing. We want food on the table. Now, you and Honorable Wandeto said, majority should have their way, minority have their say. If majority of the public that participated in this public participation, which is a continuous process, by the way, said, for now, the issue of concern that Kenya Kwanza regime must address is high cost of living. Now, Wandeto said that our issues keep changing, and I want to bring him back. Our issues have never changed. They remain four. The high cost of living has been tied to this finance bill, and we have unpacked, in our view, how the high cost of living is going to be enhanced through passage of this finance bill. And that's why we have identified this housing levy, which is now a tax. We have identified the, you know, the 16% on petroleum products. That is what has happened. He also said, Sam, that we abandoned the bipartisan talks. For sure. Yes, we abandoned the bipartisan talks because we were dealing with a dishonest group. We are not going to go back to it. We have said, as we go to public, as we go to Kamkunji, Sam, because you are saying...
What do you mean dishonest?
In our view, Kenya Kwanza were dishonest. They were buying time. Because if you look at the communication from the co-chairs, Otiende Amolo and Murugara, there are instances where Otiende Amolo had to push for meetings. They were not willing. And it is in public domain that when Honorable Murugara was away and he had his colleague cheering for him, we made some attempts to move. And that's why we say, in our view, that talk was a scheme to buy time. And lastly, Sam, you said that what is it we are going to achieve in Kamkunji? You know, consultation is a continuous process. And there's nothing wrong with consulting people in a baraza, in town. There's nothing wrong. What the leadership of Azimio have listened to, the cries of the people. The media newspapers were headlining the previous days that the public are now crying for Raila Odinga. Raila Odinga is just a member of the public, but he's doing his best to address the issues of concern to the people. Raila Odinga doesn't sit in parliament. My three friends here sit in parliament. They are representatives of the people. They have delegated power. If that delegated power fails to achieve the desired outcome of the people, then the people now come back and say, no, we are taking our delegated power and going back and asking questions. And that does not mean that it's only Mandamano, because I see the issue here is Mandamano. As much as Mandamano is in the Constitution and it is peaceful, we have not called for any. If the people said, Baba, give us Mandamano, Martha, give us Steve, give us Mandamano, then so be it. But for now, we want to listen to them too. Because this bill, as you have said,
I want to hear from Honorable Elachi here. Because you said that you're waiting for the leadership to give you direction.
Yeah.
How is it working now in Azimio? Are you even part of that decision to go to Kamukunji tomorrow? Will you be going?
Well, I need first to know, because you know one thing, I have a very clear stand. I appreciate barazas because we communicate. I don't like Mandamano because we are only me and Esther women in this county. After everything is done and finished, do you know, we go through a lot. And I'll tell you, we walk through friends to start now thinking the young men who are in hospital, everyone. And that's why I'm saying in Nairobi, you do everything, but it is our young people in Nairobi who get injured, who get all these things. And so for us, for me, I said, let me deal with the aftermath. Because it has, everyone now forgets that there was something we were doing. Okay. You'll never find them together. If they're in the police cells, it is me to roam all over, looking at how do you remove this one from the police, how do you... And this is something that always happens when we do all this. That's why I'm saying, let's have, if we want a serious conversation, which Kenyans are wishing to have, and even when I do my public participations on Zoom, even Kilimani members, yesterday, most of them called me and said, again, do not come and stop our businesses. We are hurting. You see, they are supporting us, yes, but they feel our strategies are not going in tandem on the way they would wish us to do. And one thing we have to do, if we are holding on this, we must give an end. Kenyans must see a result that comes to help. And that is why it is important for leaders to just sit. If we want these things to happen, by the way, it is for the leaders to sit.
Have you asked for a sitting?
Well, the sitting now, you see, and I want to plead with the president, really, you are the president, you are the pillar of unity. You're the pillar of unity. That does not mean you'll have handshake. What handshake? Why would you meet my prime minister alone? Meet them with the whole team then. There will be no handshake there, but at least you can have a conversation where you want the country to go, knowing very well people are hurting, people are going to pay high taxes to see, yes, you pass this. But then at the same time, people would wish to have that decorum in terms of how you... Because every Kenyan is going to pay tax, by the way.
So
it is not
will you be at Kamukunji tomorrow?
She said no.
I have never, I mean, if it is a baraza, I will go. Sam, by the way, that one, you should not take me like this. You know me. You have seen me. I don't like it that way because you know my stand. I have said I come for the aftermath. We can send people, but if it's a public baraza, yes, I'll be there. But if it is mandamano, I won't.
You have given me an answer without giving me.
If it is a public baraza, I'm always there. Mandamano, no.
I wanted to respond to what my colleague has mentioned, because I think it will be better he gets also a rebuttal when he mentioned that, yes, we are also concerned about the cost of living for all Kenyans. I think the focus of Kenya Kwanza is empowering production input places. I come from an agricultural region. We had challenges in the past. That's why one of the most expensive things right now is probably even food, because when the prices of food goes up, it becomes a challenge all across. In this budget, I think even though we had now the challenges of where we are going to get the funds to be able to fund other sectors of the economy that would be able to reduce the cost of living, I look at, for instance, in this budget, I'll get so excited because even the few funds that we got in the previous time that were able to subsidize the cost of fertilizer, and also the funds that the $4.7 billion were put for the aggregation centers in the places where most of the places where we do agriculture, so that we can be able to have our products being
what is it?
Why are you shocked?
What is it?
I am shocked because, you see, this thing of fertilizer, we must stop. Now we must be asking ourselves...
All right. Let's not... it's a long conversation because I've had that story.
I
know I was prosecuting my point. So just give me time because you've spoken quite enough time to speak.
If I have an extra minute, I'll share it with you. But let me take a look at the feedback that has come to us at Citizen TV Kenya at Samgi. Took the hashtag to the breaking. Jidel Lazaro is saying that...
yes, we are waiting for that.
No, just hold on. Let me look at the feedback. Progress of any developing nation depends on the type of education they're providing to the citizens. Crises in learning institutions should be given serious attention, not normal propaganda and shifting blame game by our leaders. Honorable Lilian Sioi says, and she needs to come to the studio, by the way, education matters. Under Kenya Kwanza government, there is limit in allocation of funds in that big school, that is the national schools with large enrollment, are not the only beneficiaries of the funds. Okay. Sir Nixon Ndugire, the government seems to be gambling too much with the education sector. Very many promises and ambiguous policies, especially in the CBC system. It's action time now, following very elaborate guidelines. Brian Chamwa, opposition leaders can explore legal avenues to challenge the government's actions or policies. This could involve filing lawsuits in courts, challenging the constitutionality of certain measures, or seeking judicial review of specific government decisions, all right? And as Nixon Ndugiri, again, you said that what is more sad is the dishonesty in Parliament. Those you call the majority are just yes voting machines, regardless of the opinion of the people they represent. Their ears are no longer on the ground as it was during the campaigns. And Kassan Lash, Azimio should look for better ways to put forward his proposal. He can't be fighting the government without offering solutions. Kenyans are awake and want to build their nation. I'm proud of my MP, Bernard Kitur, and the work he's doing here in Nandi Hills. Well, that is Kassan Lash, appears to be a constituent of Honorable Kitur now. I have to apologize. Okay, fine. Ken Nyaminde is saying that public participation was just a PR gimmick. Where did Kenyans, for example, say they wanted the levy to be turned into a tax? That money is gone. Kenyans better make peace with that fact. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to apologize that I don't have extra time because Willis Raburu is already in the building for Sporty Monday, but he'll have more time. Honorable Jeffrey Wandeto from Tetu constituency, Fred Okango from Kanu, Beatrice Alachi from Dagoretti North, and Bernard Kitur from Nandi Hills. Thank you so much for your time, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye for now. My name is Sam Gituku. Up next is Sporty Monday with Willis Raburu and Co.